are two different ways that you can create a new Google site. First, if you are in Google Drive, you can go to New, More, and Google Sites, and that will let you create a brand new one. Alternatively, just like with docs or slides, you can go to sites.google.com/new and start a new site right from here. The first thing you want to do is name it, and that will come down and be added in your header here. You may want to title your page. You can change the header type, so if you want a larger banner you can do that, a smaller one, or just the title. With your banner you can change the image. You can either upload one that you have or you would like to create, or you can go to select image. You can choose from the gallery that they have there. You can do a search. This is nice because it is Google's typical copyright friendly search. If I were to type in just a generic learning term, I can see these. I can select that and it will add it as my background. It's also nice, you can see in the right hand corner it will change the text color and the image to make it more readable. So I'm going to leave it as that for right now. The other thing that you can do to change how your site looks is click on themes over here on the right hand side. They do have a few different themes. Kind of scroll through and look at some of the templates. Once you kind of find one that you like, notice that you can change colors right from here. If you don't like any of those colors, you can click on the paint can and choose your own color, whatever you want it to be. And there is some small font choices. These are all fairly common between the different themes, so whichever one you'd like, you can do that. So not a ton to change as far as the themes, but especially with the colors you can be pretty particular. And then any picture that you want to add in the background, you can do that there. The main thing in Google Sites is this Insert tab in the right hand column. Anything that you want to add in here to your site is usually done from here. So most common one is a text box. When you type something in, there are a few standard choices: title, heading, subheading. Again, under themes, when you change your font style, that changes everything for your website. There's not really a font change within the text box. That's all done through themes. You can make things bold. You can change where it's at in the text box. You can add a hyperlink or clear the formatting. The other thing you can do, and this goes for any items, you'll see as we go through, there's always going to be this left-hand column. The section background, again, changes depending on the color that you choose. The emphasis usually is an all gray. And then in this case, my emphasis too is blue, because that's the thing that the color that I chose over here. There would be green and red. Notice it also changes the text just like it did up here for readability. I can duplicate a section, or if I change my mind, I can delete it. Okay. So insert, that would be a text box. Again, for if you're just typing in information. If you have images, you can click Insert Images. Again, you can either upload them or you can select them. Same or similar choices, I guess, from the header image. If you have the URL, you can do that. You can just do a Google image search. And if you have some either in your Google Photos or in your Google Drive, you can add them from there. The embed is kind of nice if you have a website that you want to share and you want it to look a little bit nicer. So I have this 7 tips for managing distance learning. I have copied that web URL. I can paste that in, and it's going to actually give me a little preview. Sometimes it will offer you a full site, which you don't necessarily need all the time. Again, it's really up to you. You could just use this as a hyperlink in your text. I could have just put it here. But if you want to add images, images are always great. You can put it in this preview embed window. There also is the option for embed code if you know HTML code, but you don't necessarily need to utilize that. Usually the by URL works. So you notice now we have two items in our website. There are these dots along the left-hand side that lets me drag and rearrange things. This will be pretty commonplace. Notice this one's gray. Again, I could change the color of that if I wanted to. The other thing I can do is I can move this back and forth. I can't move them up and down, even text boxes, but I can move this around. It will give me some guides, so now I know it's centered. I could actually do the same thing with this text box. If I make that text box smaller, then I could select it towards the top. Again, you can kind of see once my mouse cursor gets to the middle top, it changes into those 4 arrows, and then I can drag it around. So things can be moved left and right. It can't really be moved up and down unless you're going to take the whole section and move it. Google Drive, if I want to pull in something from Google Drive, I can do that right there. I'm going to show you another place that you can do it as well. Next thing, if we go down the insert column, there are layouts that you can choose. So if you want to have a video or image, there's one that has 2 images, there's one that has 3, some smaller ones. You can pick. If I click on that, then it gives me these placeholders, and so I can click on a plus. I can either upload or select, just like I did before. I can pull one from Drive. Here's the other nice thing that are different about just images is I can add a YouTube video in here, I can add a calendar, or I can add a map. It's not that you can't do these things in other places, but if you want kind of a quick and easy way to make a layout, you can do that through these layouts here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually delete this to show you how you can just delete something and it disappears. So we talked about the top 4, we talked about the different types of layouts. Let's go down into this other list. The next one is collapsible text. Think about it as a frequently asked question. So what time our class? Then this would be first period beginning, we'll just say 7:30 to 8:20 a.m. So when I click out of it now, you notice that it disappears. So I could have a number of these if I wanted to. And then students could use it, again, like I said, as a frequently asked question, or maybe it's a study prep. I don't know, you can put whatever you want to in there. Again, change the colors if you want. One thing I want to take a quick break, because we have a few things added here, is to talk about this toolbar up at the top. So there is an undo and redo. So if you make a mistake, you can use those to correct that mistake. The next one is preview, and that's what I want to hit on here. I haven't published this, but I can click on a preview and I can look at these hyperlinks and just kind of see how it lays out. Here is my collapsible text, so I know that when I click on it, then that information shows up. The nice thing is in the bottom right hand corner, I can say, okay, well, what would that look like on a phone? The new Google Sites does a really good job of being adaptive to the device that people are viewing the content on. So again, here's my collapsible text. Looks pretty nice. If they were on a tablet, that's what it would look like too. I'm going to exit out of that preview, and again, that is the computer icon up here, and we'll touch on the rest of those icons in a little bit. So now that we know what that looks like, table of contents. If you have a longer page, you could put in a table of contents. What that does is it automatically finds anything that is a heading, like we have here, and makes that into a table of contents. Probably something you would want at the top of your page, but if you're going to have a longer one with a lot of different content, you know, just like in a Google Doc where a table of contents will automatically pull your headings, you can do that in Google Sites as well. Image carousel, if you have multiple images that you want people to scroll through, you could do that. So if it's like a gallery walk of different art types or different architecture, you could do that as an image carousel, instead of a Google slide. A button is pretty simple. Whatever you want the button to say, I'll just use the preschool link that I already have. I type in the name, what I want on the button, and then I type in the link that that button is going to go to. Click Insert. I can resize that button. I can change a little bit how that button looks. Again, not a ton of options. And just like the text up above, I could move this around. The other thing I can do, sometimes if you have multiple things on in one of these rows, I can actually attach those so that they end up together. In this case, I could do that. That makes sense here. But I could also, let's just click undo. And so we have separated those two things, and now that is its own row. Again, I can move these around if I wanted to. So that was button. Divider, again, would just divide. It's just a line that would divide your web page. Maybe I want to put that between this up here and the link down here. Placeholder is, we showed you that in the layout. You can upload images, video, calendar to a map. Another option for that. YouTube, you can do a couple different things. If you have the URL of a video, you could just paste that URL in here. You could do a search right from here if you wanted to. The other thing is if you click on Uploaded, it will find videos that you have uploaded to YouTube. You can click on that and then click Select. They would obviously need to be either unlisted or public so that others can see them. But you can add that YouTube video. You can resize it if you want. And then again, just like the other options, you could move it around if you needed to. Calendar here. One thing to know with Google Calendar, if you are using Google Classroom and you are adding in dates for your assignments, that will automatically generate a Google Calendar that, if you make it public, which I can help you do, your parents would be able to see that Google Calendar that shows all of your assignments for Google Classroom. So Google Classroom has Guardian notifications, but it's really a summary. And so one way to get around that is to utilize a Google Calendar that is public, that anybody can see. If you decide to use Google Sites and Google Calendar and you would like that calendar to be embedded on your website, you can do that with this calendar input option. Click on it, click Insert. I don't have anything right now, otherwise it would show up in an agenda view. And if you're actually on the website, again, we're editing, they could click on month or week and see for that specific class what those assignments would be. You can add in maps if you want to. You can create a map right from here. If you go to Google's My Map, you could actually create your own map and embed it in here if you want to. You can add in Google Docs. So at the very top, again, we showed you there is a Google Drive icon here. If you come down, you have Google Docs, where it's just going to look at your, in this case, recent Google Docs. But again, I could search. Let's say I want to add this one in. Here's kind of what it would look like. I can resize this if I want to. And then let's actually go to our preview and see what it's going to look like. I want to know for a student who's on their computer, what's this going to look like. There's my calendar I added. So what it does, this is an 8-page document. It puts a scroll bar within that little box for students to look down. And then there is an option to open it in a new window. So that's what a Google Doc in there would look like. Again, you can resize that however you want. I could make that a lot smaller if I needed to. Same thing with slides. You can add in Google Slides. The nice thing about that is it will put it in where you don't see all the extra stuff. It's like it's in presentation mode. Again, I could move this up if I wanted to. So I have multiple things on the same page. I could actually resize these so they're the same height. There we go. Again, if I go back to my preview mode, I want to see what this looks like. Students would then just be able to navigate right here for your slides. This does not, if you think about Google Classroom versus Google Drive, or Google Sites, excuse me, this would not make a copy for each student, so you couldn't really share a template this way. You could put a link to the URL that forces students to make a copy underneath there, but Google Classroom would really still be the place that you would go and want to make a copy for each student, especially with younger kids. If we continue down, same thing with Google Sheets, Google Forms, and if you make a chart, you can access that from your drive and drop it into your Google site. So here we have our Google site. You could just leave it as one page if you want to. The other thing, if you want to make multiple pages, there is a Pages tab in here. Just click on the plus, type in your name, and then click Done. One thing to point out then, once you create a new page, it will add it to your navigation bar up here at the top. I can add a second page. I guess this would be a third page. And then we'll add that, and it will continue that. If you wanted this to have sub pages underneath of it, you could create that page, and then you would just click and drag to highlight page 2, or whatever that top layer page would be. And then that will automatically create a drop down. So pages leads us right into these settings up here. So right now our navigation bar is along the top. If I click on settings, I can change where that navigation bar goes. Now it's over here along the side. And when I click there, it flies out and I have my pages right there. Let's go back to settings. I'm going to change this back to the top. And then I can put a color on that navigation bar if I want. Again, that's completely up to you. The other thing that I would point out while we're here is this announcement banner. If you wanted a banner across the top of your page, this would, maybe be test tomorrow, test review tomorrow. You can decide what color you want that banner. Is it going to link to something? Do you want it on all pages or just the home page? I'm going to click on the X. I have what I want, and now that announcement banner has been added to the top of the page. If I'm done with it, I just come and uncheck Show Banner, turn that off, and it disappears. A couple other things. If I want to share it with others, I can do that two ways. One, I can add editors on my page. So if this is a group project between you and a couple other teachers, you can add those there. The other thing is under links, the published site right now is just for Lewis Central Community Schools. You probably want to make that public and then click Done. So now anybody could access it. They don't have to be logged in with their Lewis Central account to see it. That's probably key if we're talking about sharing content with parents. If I click on the snowman, the 3 dots, I can go to version history if I want to see changes that were made. Just an FYI that is there. When I'm done, I want to click publish. So all this saves automatically in Drive. When I click publish, it's going to let me, this first time, it's going to have me make sure my web address is correct. If I did not go into settings and say that anyone can view it, I can click that manage there and it'll take me right back to that same page. Again, we want it so anyone in the public can view it. And then if you want to request that it's not put in search engines, that's completely up to you. It's really not a huge deal. You can check that if you'd like. When you're done, just click publish. Every time you click publish, this little thing is going to pop up. Your site has been published. You want to view it? You can do that. One thing you may want to do is in the drop down to the right of publish, it says publish settings. Right now, this is check that editors must review changes before publishing. That's up to you. I don't like to have to look at that every time I click the publish button, so I like to have that unchecked and then click save. If you do have it checked, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to move these things around. And then when I click publish, it's going to say this is on the left what you want. This is the way it's looking right now over here on the right. So if that's what I want, I click publish. Again, if you don't want to have to answer that question every time, go into your publish settings, uncheck that box, and then click save. Now when I make a change and then I click publish, it just publishes it. I can go view it then when I want. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the new Google Sites. It's a lot more friendly. Again, that insert tab is really going to be your friend for adding content to your website. As always, if you have questions, please let me know.